Hey all, Brian here, Chris Murray, Elevation Wheel Company, Michael Stevens, the back half of the fastest tandem in the Western Hemisphere. Got a couple questions today, so we're going to fire these off, get through them, bang through them, throw out some probably rather personal opinions on some of these things, and move on.
Start off, what's your opinion on taking an off season?
Off season. Well, by definition, an off season is a part of the season when you're not actually racing your bicycle. So, you know, there's certainly things to be done during the off season. Phases, training protocols, things you're going to do that you wouldn't do during the season. You know, getting aerobically fit again, getting strong in the gym. So yeah, there's really no off season in terms of just sitting down on the couch, chilling out for 3 months and then getting back at it, because all you're doing at that point is starting from the same place you ended rather than moving forward with it like everybody else, like all your competition's doing.
Let's get on some myths about training. I'll just go through the list. Climbing.
Yeah, climbing is not going to hurt your leg speed. Well, let me put a caveat on that. If you go and climb Pikes Peak,
it's going to hurt your leg speed for the next week.
I'll post a link to the video up above in the corner.
Yeah, your leg speed's not going to be so great right after that. It's not going to actually damage your cadence capacity by climbing a hill. It's actually going to be quite good for you. There's significant benefits for climbing. Being a sprinter, I hate climbing as much as anybody, but it's a necessary part of cycling and something that we should probably be doing a little bit more of.
What about picking up heavy stuff and putting it back down?
Weights.
Ooh, that's something we do a lot of.
We spend a lot of time in the gym.
I'm sure this will depend on sprinter versus endurance rider.
Sure, but I think everybody benefits from multiple facets from strength training. You're certainly going to get stronger a lot faster. Doing big, heavy compound lifts is going to add strength faster than anything else you can do. So you can spend all day long riding big gears on the bike. You're not going to get as strong as you do doing a concise training program in the gym and working on the strength there and applying it to the bike.
Right, and for the people who figure that or think that the image of being heavy in the gym is also going to make you a thick, stocky human being, heavy is percentage of max capacity. So you could be a 130-pound, tour rider and still benefit from strength training. Because again, you're just strengthening the systems of the body. You're strengthening the tendons, you're strengthening the joints, you're strengthening the muscles, you're strengthening the bones, simply by overloading your body to a percentage that it's not used to.
Cross training. What sports help? What sports don't? What don't matter but could be fun to mix things up with?
Cross training. Well, basically anything that's not cycling, again by definition, is cross training in this particular sport. I don't think there's anything wrong with applying some HIIT stuff, some plyos, some bleacher running, some if you want to do sprints in the middle of a football field somewhere, that's going to benefit you. The key to all of this stuff is looking at what are the things that are going to help you with your specific sport, because as far as I'm concerned and as far as the athletes we deal with, we're cyclists. We don't care about being good baseball players or volleyball players or anything along those lines, so we're not going to train for that stuff. Our focus is going to be on cycling. So if you can find something that will benefit what you do on the bike, provided that you apply it from a logical point of view, you don't just go out and run 20 wind sprints when you haven't run, in my case, in like 100 years, you're going to hurt something. So you need to ease into it, dip your toe in the water a little bit, and apply it in an intelligent manner that's going to benefit your cycling rather than leave you 6 weeks out without getting on the bike because you did something stupid.
And cross training is far different than competing in another sport. So when we're in our off season, which is any time, like he said, when we're not competing, when we're doing aerobic base and we're just increasing fitness, you can go to the pool, you can go swim laps, you can do anything to do aerobic capacity. We're doing things that aren't going to hurt on the bike, obviously swimming laps is really beneficial for the body, and you're not
Rugby
actually,
probably not ideal.
yeah, but I mean, you're not going to go out and compete in a marathon or do something that's wildly going to take away from the other training that you have. But so long, I mean, aerobic training is aerobic training when done intelligently, but you're also not going to go out and try to compete in another event. That's entirely separate.
Sure, because that's a completely separate event than what you do.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not training specifically for a marathon, you probably shouldn't be considering doing a marathon. You want to go run a couple miles after you build a base of running up in the off season to develop that aerobic capacity. I see no problem with that, provided the knees, the joints can deal with that.
So cyclists are obsessed with pasta and all sorts of crazy nutrition theories.
So there's actually still places on the planet that you go to development programs, you know, as a junior, as an espoir, and you know, they'll feed you pasta. They won't feed you meat. They won't feed you dairy. They won't feed you anything but pasta. And you're supposed to go 6-8 months at a time, racing in really crappy conditions on these things. You know, nutritional guidelines have kind of advanced since the 40s, so it's pretty easy. Uncle Google could certainly take care of a lot of that. Use some common sense, get some protein in your system, get some fat in your system. You know, eat like a normal person, just probably more of it than a normal person, and I think you're probably okay. Pretty basic stuff, but yeah, I would definitely look into the nutritional aspects of all of these things, but certainly you can help your cycling, you can help your performance by eating in an intelligent manner.
Actually, I like this one. Are early season PRs a warning of an early peak or another step towards goals? That's actually a good one.
That is a good one.
That's a great question.
Something we've been experiencing since we've been back to training on the velodrome full time, Joe and I. After an entire year of nothing but the opportunity to get strong in the gym, and we've been missing the bike. A huge fear of ours is that we'd get into the velodrome and we'd be slow, our leg speed would be gone. Things that we train all year long, we haven't been able to train the same way. And we got back on and we are going ridiculously fast because we're in good shape, we're healthy, we're strong, we've been eating, taking care of ourselves in our off season. But I mean, we're not scared that we're going to come July or our next opportunity to compete and not be able to go fast because we're going fast right now. All this means is that when we're rested, we're going to go really fast.
Going faster.
So the training's worked.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a loaded question too.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables there.
Because you can certainly do it. I knew a group of guys in Portland that would train like maniacs all winter long in the off season. I like the air quotes for the off season thing. And by July, when it really, you know, the important races were coming around, be them local, national, international, whatever. These things were, you know, by the time they got there, they were flat, they were done, they were crawling along. They'd been flying in March and dead in July. So there is a possibility that you could do that. But again, you know, if you take a training program and you set it up and you macro cycle it to where, you know, and break it down into a year, if you want to do that, however you want to apply that, but plan that entire cycle out and stick to it. You know, that you're going to have days where you're flat. You know, Monday we were worthless in the gym. Couldn't pick up anything, couldn't, you know, it was just one of those days, and you shrug it off and you do the best you can and you stick with your plan as well as you can, and you move on and you try to recover and you rest. And if you need to take a couple of days because you're completely smashed, then you should do that. You should listen to your body because it's going to let you know. But I don't think there's anything wrong in the case of Michael and Joe, for example. I expect them to be significantly faster than they are right now. That's the purpose of what we're doing. So yeah, they're hitting PRs now, but that's just stair-stepping on the way to the PRs they're going to hit later in the season. So I think you have to just evaluate where you're at and what you're actually doing and what the purpose of what you're doing is. But I don't see, you know, with the cohesive program, I don't see a problem with continuing to improve.
Well, there's one side to that too, just really quick to polish that off. it depends on where you're at as an athlete as well. If you're building base fitness, you're going to PR after PR after PR
Sure.
after PR because you're not going to hit those points of exhaustion where you need to recover. But somebody like we're using my situation, we're going fast and we're going well, and we all know it's going to end because you can't push against that wall forever and expect it not to collapse on you. And when it does, then you just take that little trough and you rebuild right back up, and you'll come to another higher peak after that. So you also have to take into where you're at as an athlete.
That's a good point.
You're just not always going to PR, and you just got to listen to the program and appreciate the successes when they come, and when they're hard and difficult, you get through them, you heal, you recover, and you continue to go on.
This one's trendy. CBD for recovery.
CBD for recovery. First thing I'm going to say with anything you're putting into your system, get on the USADA drug line and make sure that whatever you're taking, be it a cup of coffee, and you go to these seminars with USADA and they scare the hell out of you, right? You're convinced that tap water is going to get you popped for doping, but check this stuff out, right? If you're taking beta, if you're taking creatine, if you're taking CBD, any of those things, make sure that what you're taking is acceptable to USADA. With CBD oil, if you do the isolate, you're fine. And again, I'm going to put the caveat, don't take my word for it, check it out with USADA. The full spectrum CBD oil, you have to be careful because it contains THC, and while that's not illegal outside of competition in cycling specifically, and if you're in a different sport and you're looking to do this, check it out with your own sport as well. THC is illegal in competition, so if you are taking something that contains THC, you might want to back it off significantly before you get into a competition.
Yeah. We're all a little biased on this one. Do cyclists really need the weight room?
Yes, only if you want to go fast.
If you want to
We
win,
could just leave it at that. If you want to go fast.
if you'd like to win, yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah, endurance or sprint, you need to get stronger.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a deep one. That's its own video. Actually, I have one I talked with Fryer, so I'll add that to the corner too. See, I'm a YouTuber now.
Our best male and female athletes, the thing you'll see them doing more often than sitting in front of a computer screen doing Zwift currently this year is lifting some sort of a weight. Heavy is relative to the person, but they are lifting weights.
And you can add a lot of strength without adding a lot of muscle mass.
Yep.
Just those neural connections make a big difference.
Absolutely.
That's where most strength gains are.
Sure.
All right, so this is another one that could be like multiple episodes deep, but how do you go about choosing aero equipment?
Sight unseen is
Hierarchy of need.
Sight unseen is probably not the way to approach this. I would recommend Missy Erickson in Pennsylvania with Aero is really good at being able to do this entire process. I know Nate in California is doing the same thing. There are several places you can go, and there's several ways you can do it. You can, obviously the gold standard is put yourself into a wind tunnel, get a bunch of aero equipment, spend thousands and thousands of dollars on the wind tunnel and the process, or you can take the Rory O'Reilly, Kilo rider from the 80s, was a pioneer of this stuff. He would actually stand on I-5 outside his sunroof, holding different bars and different things in his hand to feel what the wind did with them. Kind of a genius approach, and certainly more cost effective than a wind tunnel. It's a little bit tricky. You're going to spend some money if you want to really put yourself in an optimal aerodynamic position. There's several ways you can do it. Wind tunnel, timing systems with power. There's entire processes that go through with this. But basically, if you're trying to do this on the cheap, borrow some aero equipment from somebody else.
See if you go faster.
Yeah, throw it on your bike. Throw some bars on your bike. Aero wheels are always going to be faster than non-aero wheels. And finding bars that you can put your arms into, that you can get into the position you need to, that you can hold on to, that you can start. Very important on the track side of it. you need to test some of that stuff out. And really, I mean, you can look in a mirror and go, yeah, that looks aero, and you're probably, you know, I know that Specialized Wind Tunnel is freaking out right about now, but you can get yourself close.
They're not watching.
Yeah, they're probably not.
As far as prioritization of aero, you know, something like what we do, you know, flying 200 and a kilo specialist, right, match sprinting. Aero matters when it comes to that final win or world championships or something of that nature. National championships are hardly ever divided by aero or with our level of competition. It needs to be something you focus more on your fitness. You're going to get more out of being fast and good on the bike than you are out of wearing a particular helmet. You can, I mean, we have pictures of Sarah Hammer on the wall wearing things that are definitely not considered aero nowadays, and she's out there winning world championships on them.
Yep.
So, you know, relative to the level of competition and how close that competition is.
And as somebody who makes their living selling high-end bike parts, your body position makes a bigger difference in your equipment. Wheels will make a big difference, but body position is more important than anything.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a reason you wear booties. You know, on the bike, your feet are an insignificant part of the entire system, but one of the more critical aerodynamic parts of the system.
And this is no knock on the average fitness of the amateur bicycle racer, but all of us are faster by getting our body composition in line than we are on wearing a helmet or wearing a fast pair of shoes.
Yeah, that's a good point with the climbing thing. You can go out and buy that that UCI weight illegal 12 pound bicycle, and you know what? If you're carrying an extra 40 pounds on it, it's probably not going to help you that much.
I'm not a fast climber.
Yeah, no, I'm not either.
All right. So
See the video.
should link to that multiple times. Should you compete in different sports during off-season, COVID, long break periods?
So before you get started on that, because I know this is going to be a hot topic for you, we already touched on that very briefly in cross-training versus competing. I'm a professional bike racer, and I know a lot of the people around me are professional bike racers, regardless of what your discipline is. I lift very, very heavy things in the gym, and people will come up and be like, hey, you know, have you ever decided to enter a powerlifting meet? No, and here's why for me. And I have nothing against the people that have done it until your focus gets lost on your ultimate goals. If I were to go to a powerlifting meet, it's just a couple of attempts at PRs outside of the gym. I'm not going to win. I can't go in with that mentality, and that's difficult for me as an athlete because I want to win. But I'm going to hurt myself because I have a base fitness and a specialization in what I do for a living in cycling. And I do not have a decade of time put into powerlifting. So when I go in there and try to lift 3 full maxes, go 9 for 9 on the platform, I'm probably going to risk hurting myself because I don't hold back on the bike, and I'll take that same mentality to the platform. My body's not ready for it, no matter how strong I am relative to most athletes.
Definitely. And in cycling, your 1 rep max really isn't that important.
No, and it's something I've trained before in periods of time. I've trained 1 rep maxes. I've trained 3s and 5s. I do that quite regularly. And it benefits my physiology and the things that I have health-wise on the bike. 10s and things like that still have their place.
Even
but
3s and 5s.
Drastically
safer than a 1 rep max.
Sure,
Exactly.
There's a big difference between a 3 rep max and a 1 rep max.
Yep, and I was saying earlier the exact science on that. When you just compare weightlifting to powerlifting, which is a sport where you're already lifting heavy things, but you're usually in that 6 to 10 range, right? You have a 2 to 4 times higher chance of injury when lifting 85% of your 1 rep max. That's a significant difference. Now you take a cyclist who's used to doing 10s, 12s, 8s, or nothing at all, and they go, well, I've got a big squat. I should be able to go do big squats for singles. And they spend even 8 weeks getting ready for it. The body's going to really quickly tell you it's
The
not.
infrastructure's not there. Yeah.
Yeah. So really simply, competing in another sport, you need to keep your eyes on your goal. If you're a world-class athlete, masters, junior, para, it doesn't matter. You cannot be, you are unlikely to be a world-class athlete in powerlifting, swimming, or some other sport.
Without hurting
Just because
yourself.
you're
I'm actually going to go both simultaneously. You cannot be. Period.
I think you can be, but you have to give up the other sport.
Oh yeah, no, you can
This
be
is
a
what I'm trying to
powerlifter,
figure out.
but you're going to have to quit cycling to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I was guilty of this. I've got a couple of athletes that you know, because we're doing all of these things in the gym all the time, we have no racing. You know, there is that frustration with having no racing. And several of my athletes, have approached me about, doing powerlifting meets, and I was guilty of going, yeah, sure, do the local meet. And I was remiss in not considering the ramifications of what they were actually doing, because they're type A personalities. They're going to go after it, just like Michael. I stick Michael under a squat rack and go, see how much you can pick up. It's going to be enough that he's either going to get stapled, get hurt, or he's going to be worthless in training for the next 2-3 weeks for getting that 1 rep max. So I'm at the point now where I'm strongly advising against the competitive side of it, simply because we're very competitive. We like to win. That's kind of the purpose of what we're trying to do and doing all this work. And that just lends itself to problems.
I definitely don't blame the mentality of our team riders, though.
Oh, absolutely not.
When they go, yeah, I'm going to compete at a local meet. Hey, I looked up the state record.
Yeah.
It's within reach.
Right.
And it's like,
and on a couple of occasions they actually got it, and
Yep.
you just when they injure themselves doing that, you just kind of go, oh, that was stupid, Abers. I should have never let that happen. But yeah, the athlete, of course, they're going to go after it. That's what makes them a successful athlete.
Yep.
Speeds on the bike today are way too fast. You got to specialize.
You have to. Yeah,
Sure.
if you want to win, you have to. And we're talking about people in our program that have the capacity to win multiple world titles, national titles, and set records. You have to stay focused on what's in front of us. And I understand it's been a horrible year. We all know that. We all know it's been a ridiculously bad year. And you hear it from some of the best athletes in our sport and across the world when they talk about motivation, right? It's been driven into the ground. But we were discussing it the other day, and the reason that we're not giving our athletes the excuse to say they're not motivated is because they're professional athletes, and motivation for our viewing is for people that do this as a hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if it's your job, stay focused.
Yeah, be disciplined, be
Do the
focused, do the work. That's what you're here for.
Yeah, in cycling or any other profession, do the
Sure.
work.
Yep.
Injury prevention, that's actually a really important one, and transitions well from the last topic.
Yeah, no, injury prevention. We're all doing things right now that we typically don't do. As Michael touched on earlier, we've spent probably twice as much time in the gym. Yep, that we have in previous years, getting ready with the season, with training blocks, etc. We've had an opportunity that we've taken to get in the gym and be as strong as absolutely possible. With any transition like that, or any stretch of one of those training blocks, you run the very real risk of overexerting yourself, etc. So you need to be really careful on that end. On the other side of it, you need to treat your watt bike sessions, you need to treat your lifting sessions, you need to treat all of those things exactly like you would do in a race. You wouldn't go into a race and go, okay, I got a kilo, so I got 5 minutes, I'm going to put my shoes on, and then we're going to go. Just dead cold. You're not going to do that. You're going to warm up, you're going to have a warm-up procedure, all of those things. One of the things I see all the time is not warming up the exact same way that you do at a race. Why wouldn't you warm up the same way in training as you would in a race? Figure out a training warm-up protocol, and stick with it, and do it every day, and do it for every session that you go and do it, and that's going to prevent a great deal of those sessions. And then just take care of yourself. Get some body work. Take an ice bath. Do all those things that are not particularly pleasant, but also necessary to being a top-level athlete. Take care of your body.
Well, and the harder we've worked in the gym with taking the bike away, we put our bodies under strain that we're not usually accustomed to in a given year. And we've had to personally increase our warm-up procedures in the gym prior to lifting. And it's not because we didn't warm up before, but we're putting our bodies under just a ridiculous level of fatigue in a very unique fashion. So we've had to increase our injury prevention techniques prior to our lifting sessions in the absence of the bike. And we still don't rush anything. So we used to be in and out of the gym in 75 minutes. And now we're in there 90 minutes to 2 hours because that's the only way we can get through the amount of volume we have. And we don't rush warm up. If it's going to take 10-15 minutes, it's going to take 10-15 minutes. This is what we do. It can be frustrating to be in there longer than we are used to, but it's necessary. And it's kept us relatively injury-free the entire year.
Yep.
And as weights go up, usually you do more warm-up sets to build up to the working
You
weight.
have to remain just as patient and just as dedicated to the process.
Yeah, our warm-up typically takes, at this point, probably closer to 20, 25 minutes at this point,
Yep.
just working through, getting ready to actually pick up the working sets.
Yep.
I think this one's easy. Should you post your training online and make a big deal about it?
So,
I
So
haven't
it-
posted to Strava in my
So-
entire professional career so far.
so I have an issue with some of this stuff, right? If your Garmin says the work happened, it happened. If it, the Garmin craps out on you halfway through your ride, you have a failed workout. And I actually have people that are like, my Garmin crashed out on me. Did you do the work? Yes, I did the work. Then why are we having this conversation? There's several factors here, right? Do the work. Use the tools available to you in terms of Strava, in terms of Garmin, in terms of any of these things, to monitor the work you're doing, or more importantly, so I can monitor the work you're doing, and make sure that we're on track to what we're trying to accomplish. The other part of this is, if you're on social media all the time, posting some, look, I picked up a weight, or look, I rode a bike, or look, I did this, all of that. And I'm not talking about, explaining to Aunt Hilda what a watt bike session is, and it's like, here, this is what I did the other day when you called and I was out of breath and you couldn't understand what I was saying. I'm not talking about those occasional, yep, still around, still on a bike occasionally, still in the gym, fine, whatever. But, if you're posting every single time you post about some stupid ass thing you did in the gym, nobody freaking cares. Nobody cares. I would suggest, my suggestion to you would be, quit worrying about what the perception of the work you're doing, and ask yourself, am I really doing enough work, or am I posting this to compensate for the fact that I'm not doing the shit I was supposed to do?
My take is, if it's fun, do it, but don't obsess over it.
No. And if you want to, if part of your process is sharing that you went on a bike ride, for our sport obviously, great, I went on a bike ride today. I don't care how long it was.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Did you enjoy it?
Don't care how many watts, don't care how far it was, how much you climbed. That's all irrelevant to, hey guys, I went on a bike ride today. This is what I did today.
Ashton's really good at that.
He is,
You
actually.
never see what he's doing or his posting. It's not because what he's doing is a secret. He's one of the best in the world at what he does. Ashton Lambie, for those that don't know. He's one of the best in the world at what he does. But all you know is that every day he's riding his bike. And he's probably riding it really far.
Yeah.
And he's doing it really hard. But he's not going to share any of that. It's just, hey, I was out on my bike today. It was a great day.
Yep.
This was a cool location.
Yeah, and I've got no issues with that. I'm talking about look, there's there's this camera angle where there's a whole bunch of weights on the bar, and or throwing out power numbers that again are irrelevant. If you're 280 pounds and putting out 2,000 watts, that's a little bit different than Ashton just going out on a bike ride, because I guarantee he's probably going harder than any of us anyway.
All right, keep getting to this. I'm going to go check on that. But this is a good one because there's 10 velodromes to service 50 states in this country.
Yeah.
Can you be fast without a velodrome?
You can be fast without a velodrome. You're going to lack some of the inherent skill that comes with riding on a velodrome. You have to think in, if you're, in our case, we're sprinters, so we have to think in 3 dimensions, right? So, is my opponent above me, below me, in front of me, behind me, all of those things, and you have to constantly vector some of these things in based on what you're trying to do with that opponent. So you can get super fit, you can get perfectly fast in a velodrome. Carl Baumgartner is a great example of that. He was a Masters athlete that a few years ago was Kilo national champion, and he lives in Phoenix, where there is no velodrome, kind of like Colorado Springs, where there is no velodrome. Okay, well, he has a velodrome. The rest of us don't have a velodrome.
Video up top.
We're just making links everywhere here. So you can physiologically be fit to do anything you want to do racing wise on a velodrome. The only problem becomes
The nuances of the track.
sure, yeah, nuances of the track. Just general spatial awareness. getting a feel for riding on a track. If you train nonstop on a flat road out in the middle of nowhere, to be a sprinter, and now you're riding at LA on a 45-degree banked wooden track, trying to look over your shoulder without running into the rail, without slowing the bike down to where it slides out, doing all of those things that are in your brain subconsciously, that your brain's kind of monitoring because it's used to monitoring those things, you're going to run into some problems. So I would suggest, if you don't have a velodrome, train like you're going to race at a velodrome, and then travel to a velodrome whenever it's possible. Encino's open, San Diego's open.
And if that's not an option, travel to your race a couple weeks early. Get on
Sure.
the track before the event starts.
And I would recommend that anyway.
Actually, yeah, that's
if you're going to a major race, showing up the day before is not going to be beneficial for you. Give yourself some time. Whenever you're traveling anywhere, the stress and the stiff joints and everything of sitting on an airplane and flying halfway across the country are not going to be conducive to going fast.
That's actually
Excuse me.
a good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
People used to look at travel days as rest days. It's like another training day.
Yeah,
It stresses the hell out of your body.
Travel days are not rest days. Travel days are.
We've been able to see that with our.
Oh yeah. No,
Trackers.
the back to the technology thing, right? You can, something like that, a device that kind of monitors HRV, heart rate, stress levels, etc., is going to give you a really clear indication that spending 5 hours on an airplane, dealing with 2 hours at the airport, dealing with security, dealing with baggage. Anybody that's carried a bicycle through an airport understands that it's not the easiest thing to do during the day. All of those things are going to have a factor. Any time zone you go to, you're going to need, a day? I might be completely mistaken on this, but I believe it's a day for every hour you lose to adapt to that time zone. So if you're going to Korea to race your bicycle, you should probably be there a couple weeks early to figure out how your system's going to get back on that time zone.
Yeah, and I assume if you're going to Korea, you're taking racing pretty seriously.
I would hope so.
Or any other.
Or there's a
country race.
velodrome there in Korea,
Yeah.
so.
They do have a velodrome there. All right, last one. A lot of nuance on this one, I'm sure, but do you train hard enough? How do you know?
Do you train hard enough? Go ahead.
So just yesterday, we're back into the OPTC velodrome here, right? And we had 500s on the bike, and we've had a lot of start work. We've had a lot of stuff that isn't quite as taxing on that lactate threshold, and the 500s yesterday were definitely on that door. We don't have a lot of technology to be able to utilize on the tandem. We have a stopwatch, we have speed. A lot of it has to come down to how to feel. Joe and I didn't talk at all throughout these efforts. We got through the first effort and we're like, I felt pretty good. How'd it feel for you? Because he was shaking down the aero position. After that, we didn't talk a whole lot, which to both of us says we went hard enough. There wasn't anything to talk about. We didn't do it wrong, but we did it so right. The only thing both of us were thinking about is whether our cookies were going to come up and we needed to make it to a trash can.
You can definitely see that, where like somebody comes off the track, if they immediately go to playing on the phone, probably didn't go hard enough if it was an actual effort.
Yep.
If you come off the track and you're laying down for 10 minutes and begrudgingly getting up for the next effort, probably not hard enough.
Well, that's an example of like just in that effort, did I do enough, right? But when you're talking about overall, you can stretch this out from a workout to a set to a week, a month, a season, whatever. When you finished up your effort, or you finished up whatever time measurement we're looking at, right? Did you come out happy with the results you put in? Because if you did, you put in the work that was appropriate for you.
Yeah.
Not everybody needs to put in 100%. Not everybody can. But you're not going to achieve your goals unless you put in the percentage of work that is required to meet those goals.
Yeah.
So for our amateur racer who just wants to go out, ride their bike, categorize up on their license or something, right? To go to Cat 4 or Cat 5 to 4 or 4 to 3, are you putting in enough work to make those goals happen? If so, then be satisfied with it. But if your ambition is in 4 years to even be considered in an Olympic cycle or Paralympic cycle, you better be giving it a lot harder.
Yeah, good points.
Yeah, and it's all going to be relative to what you're doing too, including time constraints. Do you have a job? Do you have a family? If you have a job and a family, they're going to have to be really, really understanding if you're going after that 4-year cycle. You know, so that's not really going to happen in most cases, right? You know, I have several athletes that, you know, they have a life outside of cycling. I've heard that's interesting, actually. But they're not able to put the time and the effort, and more importantly, the recovery necessary to do.
I feel like you're pointing at me.
No, I'm sorry.
I feel attacked.
My stupid thumb. They're not going to be able to put the time and the effort into achieving a very lofty goal like that simply because they just don't have the resources available to them. You might be able to get all the training, but you know, because there's 24 hours in a day, you work 8 hours, you know, you spend, you know, another 5 with your family every day, and, you know, so you still have, what, 11 hours left. You got to sleep at some point, you've got to recover at some point, and you've got to do 4 hours of training during that time. It's just not gonna add up. So you have to be realistic with your goals. I think more importantly, to answer that question, you have to be realistic with those goals, figure out what you're capable of doing, and then be honest with them on those track days when you're laying there, you know, completely gutted with a puke can somewhere really close to you. Did I squeeze everything out of that particular effort I could? And if you could squeeze, you know, if you approach everything with one effort at a time, then ultimately, you know, you have an entire season of squeezing efforts out, and you've done all the work that you could possibly do.
And regardless of your level, like we're talking about adequate, but the bottom line to that question, am I training hard enough? No.
Yeah, probably not.
If you want to go faster, probably not.
Yeah. There's otherwise you wouldn't finish your season up with a world championship or whatever is coming at the end of it and go, what do I need to change for next year? There's a difference between training hard and training as hard as you possibly can. There's always more to be done, whether it's on recovery, nutrition,
absolutely,
training philosophy. Do it smart. Do it with everything you've got every single time you approach it, and you're going to come out ahead, but it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, and the realistic goal view of your priorities, I think, is huge. If your goal is to be a professional bike racer, probably can go harder. If your goal is just to get faster for club racing, are you having fun with it?
Yeah. And ultimately, this should be fun for everybody. I mean, it's really
Some people
stupid.
winning is more fun than.
Oh yeah, no, winning is always more fun than not winning. But you know, going on 38 years in this sport, I enjoy it. I enjoy the work. I enjoy going to the track and doing my efforts. I enjoy coming to the WOF bike and smashing myself. I enjoy going to the gym and picking up heavy things and coming out just completely gutted. I'm kind of masochistic that way, but I think you kind of need to be a little bit too. But I think ultimately you have to enjoy that, right? I enjoy that process. I certainly enjoy the racing. I enjoy the competition part of that. I'm very much looking forward to getting together with all the guys I race with and starting that process again. But again, it comes back down to you have to enjoy it. You have to be disciplined. You have to be focused. Motivation is going to come and go. Motivation doesn't mean anything. You're going to have to be disciplined if this is what you want to succeed with.
Agreed. Cool. Any other points?
I got nothing.
Nothing. Guys, thanks for watching. If you have any more questions for these guys, let me know in the comments below. We'll make another video. Brian seems to be getting into this idea. I think Michael's on board now too.
I'm not coaching staff.
But yeah, thanks again for watching.
Great.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.